Welcome back to SuperString. Strange specialist Voyan has fostered another investigation where he remunerates couples with $50 million in the event that they stay inside an impeccable space for 50 days. Assuming one of them leaves, the award drops to $100 million. There is no contact with the rest of the world and no amusement, just each other's organization. In any case, they can get treats by paying for them with part of the award cash. The present couple is Mike and Kate, who figure it will be pain-free income. Mike thinks they've been extremely fortunate to track down this spot, and Kate sees it as the additional opportunity they merit. Anyway, she additionally brings up that perhaps they ought to part the cash to make things simpler. She will probably put away the cash, which Mike believes is inconceivably exhausting. He views his future as celebrating and living it up without pondering cash at any point down the road. Subsequent to hearing the artificial intelligence voice help them to remember the standards, they investigate the region and notice they weren't kidding when they referred to it as impeccable. Everything is white, and the main items there are a bed and a seat. There's likewise a straightforward washroom, which rules say they can enter each in turn. A red button they can utilize if they have any desire to leave, a touch screen where they can demand treats, and a major clock over the leave entryway that counts down the time they have left in the trial. Their feasts are intended to cover their day-to-day dietary prerequisites and are simply flavorless white shake that arrives in a white container. The room likewise accompanies programmed lights that change over the course of the day to report morning, evening, night, and when dusks, which is a sign they should take to head to sleep. The touchscreen permits them to set up a morning timer, and keeping in mind that Mike intends to regard this as an excursion and rest late, Kate sets up an early caution so she can have some feeling of schedule. At the point when they hit the sack on their most memorable evening, Mike attempts to get going with Kate, yet she's concerned that they might be watched by the teacher. Since Mike demands, they wind up doing it discreetly under the covers. When morning comes, Kate goes to the restroom to take a gander at herself in the mirror and recount a couple of encouraging statements to keep her spirits up and her objectives new. After the two of them shower, they toss their garments into the restroom's clothing chute, and in return, they get exceptionally plain night robe, despite the fact that essentially these have some tone. To keep themselves occupied, Kate attempts to hypothesize why Voyan is running this examination, so Mike enlightens her concerning the narrative he saw about this person's past trial that finished with a common family and misfortune. No one knows why Voyan did this, they just realize he has lots of cash and he like utilizing it to place individuals in extraordinary conditions since he's fascinated by the human condition. Keeping themselves engaged turns into an issue sooner than they anticipate. Kate likes to reflect, while Mike gazes at the clock some of the time. He additionally goes on philosophical digressions about different subjects like the significance of white, which he examines with all his specialty school information, or the course wherein they ought to clean their teeth. Kate generally reminds him not to gaze at the clock and to keep his brain on the award, yet it's difficult to think emphatically when Mike couldn't rest soundly. Kate keeps up her everyday practice of insistence words and making the bed. She likewise attempts to keep Mike's soul up. At the point when Kate reflects, Mike has a go at working out, essentially by running. Together, they play hand-applauding games, Marco Polo, or even dance. At the point when they remove their messy night robe, they're given another pair that appears to be identical. Half a month have passed when something else at last occurs. Mike finds a bug that has sneaked inside the room. After child conversing with it, Mike attempts to take care of it a portion of the dinner shake, yet when he pours a few drops on the floor, the computer-based intelligence voice advises them that food must be utilized for utilization by the challengers. Stressed over the bug not making do in here, Mike demands some approach to letting the little man out, promising he would rather not leave. Kate clears up for him that the speaker through which the man-made intelligence voice comes out doesn't appear to be two-way. She's now taken a stab at making Mike choose as he will press the button to open the entryway. This starts a contention on the grounds that Kate is certain pressing the button will cause them to lose regardless of whether Mike really leave and just puts his hand out for an inept bug. In the wake of putting the bug down, Mike tells Kate the bug is a living being and that she has no empathy, so Kate blames him for being stooping on the grounds that she isn't veggie lover like him. As the contention gets stronger, Kate at last admits she thinks Mike is just veggie lover since he needs to irritate his well-off father who have Mike all that he really wanted. In this way he never endured, and presently he needs to have refined road craftsmanship cred. Then, Kate attempts to leave this discussion, however she winds up stepping on the bug, and Mike experiences difficulty accepting her when she says it was a mishap and apologizes. Mike spends the remainder of his day moping in a corner until he at last concludes he's had enough. Doing nothing is simply not beneficial. Since every one of them can take 2 treats, Mike will request one regardless of whether takes out $100,000 off their award. Kate doesn't endorse, yet Mike needn't bother with her consent, and his treat turns out to be a solitary green-colored pencil. It's not a lot, yet to some extent now Mike can do his specialty on the walls. Subsequent to watching him draw for some time, Kate requests that he draw her, and Mike acknowledges. Nonetheless, he declines 2 sensible pictures since they're exhausting. He likes to adhere to his style, causing Kate not to need to display for him any longer. Mike draws until there's no more colored pencil left, irritating Kate when he leaves green stains all around the washroom and the towel on the floor. Afterward, Kate apologizes for having acted like a cunt and makes sense of this as more diligently than she suspected, yet essentially they just have 20 days left. Days keep on passing in fatigue until one morning, Kate awakens to track down a firearm in the washroom. They're too terrified to even consider checking, assuming it's stacked and its presence is tormenting, so they choose to conceal it under the bed in light of the fact that the computer-based intelligence prohibits them to put protests that aren't garments inside the clothing chute. In a little while, the couple is at long last compensated with interface time, which will play for the messages sent by their friends and family. Mike receives a message from his sister, who lets him know how she and their folks are doing, yet she likewise thinks Mike isn't dating Kate any longer. Seeing his sister makes Mike extremely blissful, yet Kate doesn't need her very own association and frenzies when the screen puts a video of her father, who is at last off the roads and residing in a destitute haven. Since the video won't stop regardless of the amount she asks, Kate hurries to take cover behind the restroom entry and cry, and Mike approaches solace her. Subsequent to dozing by sticking frantically to her sweetheart, Kate doesn't get up when the caution declares the morning and stays in bed all day since she's fallen into a discouraged state. At the point when Mike communicates his concerns, Kate lets him know she hadn't seen her dad in years and consistently deceived Mike about who he was on the grounds that she was embarrassed about her father and the manner in which he drank away the house, her school expenses, and her possibilities growing up like an ordinary individual. With barely 14 days to go, Kate actually remains in bed while Mike attempts to track down better approaches to engage himself, such as altering his drawings by smirching the colored pencil with his fingers or perusing the pajama mark in whatever number feelings as would be prudent like those acting activities. He attempts to cause Kate to eat by poking some fun at the food, yet it's silly, so he winds up joining her in bed and trusts he can comfort her. It actually doesn't work, and Mike some of the time chooses to rest on the floor just to feel something else. One morning, he attempts to persuade Kate to take a treat, however she won't lose that cash. Developing progressively baffled, Mike makes reference to he doesn't know he can do this any longer and that at last moves Kate to get up. Before she scrubs down, however, she advises Mike to require his subsequent treat, regardless of whether costs $250,000. Mike does so and is stunned to see the entryway open to permit a bare lady called Simone go into the room. She is clueless about the task, she's simply an entertainer getting compensated for a gig that expected marking loads of NDAs and keeping in mind that she was reserved for a month. Her representative said she's most likely remaining for 24 hours. Kate could do without her presence definitely and makes Mike give her his shirt so Simone can conceal to some degree a piece. Simone sees Mike's craft and adulates it, in any event, perceiving the impacts, which irritates Kate more. At the point when sun sets, Mike offers to rest on the floor while the young ladies take the bed and Simone offers to remain conscious while they rest. Kate is irritated by their endeavor at habits and concludes they can all share the bed as long as she dozes in the center. That evening, it's Kate the one to experience difficulty dozing. In the first part of the day, Kate doesn't find Simone on the bed and believes she's gone, however, she's in the washroom. Not having the option to take it any longer, Kate chooses to take a treat and gets a little box with 3 tomfoolery confections. Kate quickly takes one and offers one to Simone, yet Mike just acknowledges one too after loads of delay. Them 3 start moving and thrashing around the room, they likewise share a couple of gathering kisses. Notwithstanding, sooner or later, Mike starts going through a terrible outing, seeing blood all over the place and dreaming he's submerged while seeing his more youthful sibling fall with him. The ladies take Mike back to the real world, however he's actually terrifying and requesting to leave while referencing something about Sean and suffocating. Kate needs to drag him back to bed and solace him until he's snoozing. Subsequently, Simone asks what Mike had been referring to, and Kate tells her Mike's younger sibling Sean suffocated in the family's pool, while Mike should keep an eye on, which causes him to feel remorseful still right up till now. Mike had been high when it worked out, which adds to the injury and makes sense of why he had been reluctant to acknowledge the sweets here. Simeon likewise asks how they met, and Kate recalls affectionately how on a stormy day, she had no umbrella and Mike came to her, proposing to get every one of the raindrops so she wouldn't get wet. At the point when Mike at long last awakens, Simone shares that she lost her mom when she was a youngster, and both of them bond over melancholy and lost friends and family. Simone grasps Mike's hand to comfort him, and when Kate sees them, she goes ballistic, thinking Simone needs to take her bow. Simone gets down on her demeanor, bringing up that Kate suddenly erupts on the grounds that she's really a shaky individual, what begins a contention. Mike shouts at them to stop prior to leaving. In this way Kate attempts to apologize, letting it out was likely nothing that she saw, yet Simone stokes the fire by saying perhaps it wasn't. The next morning, Mike isn't feeling great, however Kate is focused on different things. Simone is at long last gone, but at the same time there's a message from her on the wall on green pastel saying thanks to Mike for a wild evening. 4. Kate goes nuts, not paying attention to Mike when he makes sense of he sat idle and this resembles the weapon, something the room is doing to screw with them. In her outrage, Kate pushes Mike to the floor, making him hurt his head and drain. Mike pulls back from her, advising her that he's never undermined her in any event. When she moved to New York, he likewise quit seeing his purported rich companions, not to make her anxious, and didn't complete school to remain at home with her when she was discouraged, yet all he receives consequently is envy. Crying, Kate keeps on saying sorry, however their discussion is intruded on when Mike starts feeling woozy from the injury. He genuinely thinks he wants a specialist, however Kate presents to him a portion of the dinner shake so he can place a few sugar in his framework and covers his injury with a towel, reminding Mike that the agreement said they don't have remittance for clinical mediation. Mike can't completely accept that what he's hearing, and he begins contemplating whether Kate truly minds. His injury ends up being little, and it in the end quits dying, yet he is terrified of how far she would have gone in the event that it had been more regrettable, maybe she would have allowed him to lose for cash hand over fist. Loathing how this spot has treated them and acknowledging cash won't fix how broken they really are, Mike chooses to leave, welcoming Kate to do likewise. Kate denies, however, bringing up it's simple for him to talk like this since he's constantly had cash, and she even recovers the firearm to undermine him into remaining. In any case, Mike overlooks her and presses the button, at last leaving the room a couple of days before triumph. After bunches of laying around and going crazy in the shower, Kate sees the raindrop drawing on the wall, rousing her to move toward the button as well and think of her as choices with just 2 days left. Numerous months after the fact, a now single Mike is going for a run when he sees Kate emerging from a structure. They haven't seen each other since the room and choose to take a stroll to talk and get up to speed, however when Mike inquires as to whether she left the room or won, she evades the inquiry. At any rate, however, she offers a statement of regret for what occurred. As they leave, the structure is uncovered to be the destitute safe house, which has a plaque saying an unknown gift permitted them to construct the new kitchen. In the meantime, in the flawless room, another couple shows up to take the test.